Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another fantastic episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. And happy March 1st, beginning of March Madness. With that being said, here are the introductions. In one corner, we have the Monarch of Mardi Gras, the Baroness of Bourbon Street. When she's not co-hosting Ringside Society, she goes on crazy misadventures, such as picking fights with random people while dressed up as one of the Road Warriors, getting in brawls and instigating riots, all for a piece of king cake, and looking for the fabled Cobra Kai dojo, Louisiana's own Kathy Knight. In the second quarter, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money, Mary Jane, or Popeye spinach. He is the charcoal dart of Ringside Society and Delaware's greatest American hero. It takes two to make a thing go right. He's Rob Bass, and you are not. And the third corner, we have that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is a man who actually took that leap across the guardrail. No, he didn't act like a crazy fan and jump somebody, but he said, you know something? I love this sport so much. I love this industry so much that, you know what? I think I'm gonna put on the gear and make it happen like a captain in the ring. He actually received training from the famous Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, one of the most prestigious schools you can go to, led by the Drip God, Seth Rollins, and the product, Marek Brave. And he is now the only alternative. Everybody, welcome to the show, Vincent Michaels.
Woo! Thank you for having me.
Vincent, thank you very much. You know, it's always, we're always grateful for all of our hosts. you know, and that's pretty much every host that we have. It gives us more inspiration to go on and go on. And I gotta say, first off, congratulations! You had your two matches. You've had two matches under your belt already, and I tip my hat off to you for doing what most wrestling fans wouldn't do, and that is, you know something, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna go ahead and get in the ring, do my training, sit under the learning tree, and put all that together and make a career for myself. And I gotta say, I tip my hat off to you. I would tip my hat off if I had a hat to wear, but I'm in my parents' house, and mom don't play that, so yeah. But yeah, so I gotta ask you, man, how does it feel? And folks, when I say jump the guardrail, I mean what that's my own saying of, you know, you okay, now you're like, maybe I should find another saying, because now people are gonna be like, I jumped the guardrail, and they're gonna take. But when I say jump the guardrail, it pretty much means that you pretty much decided to enter into the other side of the industry, or the other side of, well, yeah, I guess the other side of the wrestling industry, which is, the wrestlers, the managers, the promoters, the ring announcers, commentators, etc., etc. So Vince, I gotta ask you, man, how does it feel?
Wow, it's been an experience. I mean, when I decided I was going to go on this journey a long time ago. Ever since I can remember, I told myself that wrestling was going to be it for me in life, whether as a fan, if I was to make it in the business one day, wrestling was going to be the thing for me in life. I never gave myself an alternative. It was never, if wrestling doesn't work out, I'm going to have a backup career in this field or that field. It was never, I'm going to go to college with the idea of getting a degree because I want to do this. No, it was, I'm going to get through college. I'm going to get through the necessities in life to get to adulthood, because when I get to adulthood, it's time for wrestling. It's time to wrestle. It's time to do what I've always said I was going to do. And when you have that mentality in life, you're, I think, destined for success, because I gave myself no alternative path. I gave myself no alternative career, no alternative place to go. It was either make or break for me in my entire life as far as getting to wrestling, and that's why I've kind of given myself that little, not so much a nickname, but just that kind of saying, the only alternative. Because for me, this was the only thing that I had to go for, and when you make that into your life, you're going to make it because there's no other way to do it.
Wow, that's awesome. And I like the fact that you were just, dead set on doing it, and you made it happen. And I've seen your Instagram, and man, you are definitely like a dedicated fan. Like you're always front row just watching and so on. And the thing that I also have to say, and we're gonna touch on that later on, is that you didn't just pick any school, because and I apologize to anybody. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's schooling or whatever, but you didn't just pick any school. You picked one of the most popular schools in not just the country. I'm talking about the world, because we've had Kathy and Rob. Y'all might know. I think his name is Mark. Is it Mark or Ben Fraser? He's on NXT UK right now, killing it. But you picked one of the most popular schools in the whole world, the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, and you decided you were going to go there and learn what you can about professional wrestling. And I got to say, that's very admirable with what you did. So I'm gonna I'm gonna dial it back a bit, and I just got to ask, how did your fandom for professional wrestling start? What was the pay-per-view or the event that you saw, or who was that relative you saw watching wrestling and you were curious and then you just got hooked right away? How did it happen for you?
Well, it's actually funny because my earliest memory of wrestling is going to a Best Buy somewhere for Christmas in 2005 and getting what was at the time the brand new, the first PSP to ever come out in stores. And I told myself, oh, because I was never a big gamer growing up, but I'm getting into my adolescence. I'm about 10, 11 years old. I'm gonna get this PSP for Christmas. I'm gonna get one or two games to go along with it. And I see this game. It's called SmackDown versus Raw 2006 on the shelf. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who it was about. I didn't know who the people were on it. For all I knew, these were pretend characters like you saw in a cartoon. I didn't know that these were actually real people, but they looked like superheroes, and that's what drew me to them because I think on the cover that year was the Batista and John Cena, among others. And I saw that and I started playing this game and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, who are these people? Who are these characters that, they fight each other and they hit each other with weapons and all of these story modes in the game that I could play. It's like, what is this world? And then fast forward about 8 or 9 months, and I remember my uncle asking me if I was a fan of like horror themed things, because I was getting to that age where I started kind of figuring out what I liked and didn't like, and I was pretty big into horror. And he asked me if I would like to watch this show called SmackDown because it had this character called The Undertaker. And I was like, The Undertaker, like that sounds kind of cool. And he put on SmackDown on the CW one night in 2006, and I don't remember much about the show itself, but I just remember seeing Undertaker himself, and I was like, wow, this is one of the characters in that game like come to life. Like that's insane for me. And then I remember a week or two after he told me that there was this other show called Raw on the USA Network, and I put that show on, and right as I flipped it on, I remember it was the what I consider a pretty infamous segment where Jeff Hardy at the time is feuding with Johnny Nitro over the Intercontinental Championship, and Jeff Hardy actually threw the big yellow bucket of paint onto Johnny Nitro, and he got all covered in paint, and I don't know, for some reason that sticks in my head as one of those more noteworthy segments from the Ruthless Aggression era, but for me, I think it kind of ticked into this little artistic side of me that I've always had um, ever since I was a little kid. I've always loved to draw and design things and everything. And I think seeing that as well, in addition to the over the top craziness of the characters like the Undertaker and such. That's what really hooked me into wrestling.
Wow, that's cool. And I tell you, Undertaker is definitely somebody that if you got to see him live, it's definitely an experience. So what do you think about his induction in the Hall of
It's
Fame?
it's it's very bittersweet. I think the circumstance under which it's happening this year, considering that they're having it go on after a SmackDown on that same Friday night. I really would like to. I mean, I understand the way that WWE plans out their WrestleMania week nowadays. They really have no room to do a separate night for a Hall of Fame with so much other competition from independents and conventions and autograph signings and such. Which is very disappointing to me. I would like to be able to go to an actual ceremony where it's, all of his peers are sitting in the crowd, the way that they would do a typical Hall of Fame induction. Because to be honest, I'm not sure how a Hall of Fame ceremony after SmackDown is going to work. Because in theory, for SmackDown, you're going to have fans sitting around ringside. So then what happens? Do they just not have any wrestlers present? Do they kind of just come out on stage? Are they going to go assemble around the ring maybe? Like I'm curious how that's going to work in a good way and a bad way, because I hope they're able to do him justice for the induction I'm sure me and a lot of other people think he deserves after the 3+ decades he's contributed to the business.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping that they do right by him because this man put in 30 years. 30 years in WWE. This man has seen Hulk Hogan. He's been through several eras. You had whatever, I guess you could call it the golden era when you had Hulk Hogan in the early 90s, the new generation era, which was the mid 90s, the attitude era, ruthless aggression, the PG era. He's seen all the great, well, most of the greats like John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, and he's a great himself. But at the same time, it's like you can't. To me, it has to be done right, and I really hope they do right by him. And I hope it's done in front of a full audience. Now that COVID's no longer, well, pretty much not no longer a thing, but it's pretty much not as not having the effects it had 2 years ago.
Right.
But I'm really hoping that they do right, and I really hope that the one person that inducts him would be Kane. I can't think of. I know people are going to say, "What about Ted DiBiase?" But I mean, unfortunately, Paul Bearer's passed away. The only other person I think that should induct him would be Kane. That's my
I
opinion.
agree.
Yeah. So now that you're a fan and you're going to the shows and you're cheering your favorites and booing the bad guys and whatnot, you know, how did your journey go from Vincent Michaels, the wrestling fan, to now the only alternative Vincent Michaels?
Well, I think the first thing actually to kind of touch on is the name itself, because my actual shoot name is Michael Vincent. My middle name is Vincent Vaccaro, and so I actually took the Shawn Michaels method of how he created the Shawn Michaels name, because Michael was also his first name and Shawn was his middle name, and I did that little flip there. So that's actually where the Vincent Michaels comes from. And I only ever actually came up with that name because I decided early on in my fandom, when going to a lot of shows, I befriended the other notable super fans that people are probably familiar with from the past number of years. The Brock Lesnar guy, Frank the Clown, who's also, carved out a little niche for himself on the independents in the Midwest. And Frank, if you ever hear this, buddy, now that I'm trained, I'm angling for that match one day. Just so you know, old friend. Um, but getting identified as Vincent Michaels for so long actually, I think, really clicked it. in my head that okay, this is what it's going to be as far as taking this name Vincent Michaels and making it into a an actual wrestling persona. And it was in the middle of the pandemic. I had very little going on with no shows to go to. I wasn't actually in a position to really make a go of anything. I was just having very steady work, just kind of saving money, not doing much. And my girlfriend at the time, actually, was the one that kind of gave me that push that I needed of, all right, you know what, it's now or never. It's kind of just time to do what you've always said you were going to do, and it's time for you to actually take that next step. And I agreed, and I was like, you know what, this isn't a better time than any, because the world's only going to wait for so long to get back to normal, and before it gets back to normal, I should really put myself in a position where Vincent Michaels isn't just a member of the crowd anymore. When those fans come back, I want to be at that next level. I want to be ready to hit the ground running.
Wow, that's cool. It's definitely great. So, Black and the Brave, how did that happen? How did you end up going there? And did you actually drive from New Jersey to Iowa for that for the training and everything?
No, I did not drive. I flew there. Um,
Okay.
yeah, when it came to choosing schools, I was always a big fan of Seth Rollins. Just his drive and determination for how he conducts himself in the ring, outside the ring. No one ever has a bad thing to say about Seth Rollins, Colby Lopez, Tyler Black, whatever people want to call him in a professional sense. And knowing that his school not only has just a phenomenal track record for producing, such great, talent, just the idea of being exposed to someone that is so used to the current platform that is WWE, just to throw a name out there. And I, of course, have all the respect in the world for someone like, let's just say, a Lance Storm. Lance Storm is very great trainer, as I'm sure anyone can imagine. But the thing with Lance Storm is that he performed in a very different era of pro wrestling sports entertainment than what currently exists today. And when you're kind of trying to assess what the best place is for you for how to adapt to what the current style of wrestling is, I looked at Black and Brave as something that I'm sure Um, Merrick is very, I don't want to say rudimentary in the way he teaches, but he keeps you very grounded in the way that you think about how wrestling is supposed to be done. And I appreciate him for that, because I think a lot of people get lost in the glitz and glamour of what wrestling is today. You do a really crazy match, or you do a really crazy spot that gets, you get gifs made of yourself and you get shared all over on social media, and it gets you a little bit of buzz, and maybe it gets you some bookings and here and there. But, at the end of the day, I'm in there to wrestle. I'm in there to tell a story. I'm not in there to be a human highlight reel. And I think that the way that Black and Brave trains its wrestlers for this current generation is the most fundamentally sound that you will see in the country and probably the world. Yeah, and that's really what made me go in that direction.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. I gotta say, Black and the Brave, they're just killing it. Like what every student I've seen from there has been so awesome. BB Ryan, I don't know if you've heard of her. I
Yes,
saw her actually do some amazing stuff in the ring. I mentioned, I think his name was Nathan. Might be Nathan Frazier or Ben Frazier.
yes,
I think
yes,
Ben
yes.
is the
It is Nathan Frazier. Yes,
Nathan Frazier having several classic matches. And even there's another guy. I don't know if you met him, and I'm I can't wait for the day till we get him. I'm still hoping to get him on our show. The His name is Trip Jordy. He actually trained as with Black and Brave, and he
Yes,
also
I've spoken to him a little bit on social media. I haven't had the chance to meet him yet, but he actually reached out to me before. It was either right before or right as I started at Black and Brave, and he was just very nice, someone that just kind of reached out with a little bit of advice, and he's just been wonderful to talk to, and I'm sure mine and his paths will cross someday, both in and out of the ring, and I'm very excited to hopefully work with him in the future and kind of, it's the one thing I haven't been able to say I've done now is test the waters about getting in ring with, some other Black and Brave graduates that have kind of already gone out and kind of made their way of their part of the country on the indies and kind of seeing what kind of magic we can make happen.
yeah, he's the only person that I know that has actually trained at Black and Brave and the Nightmare Factory. And I saw him at the Nightmare Factory Student Showcase too. Phew, man, he could go. If I had to choose, and I'm gonna just go off. I guess off route pretty much. If I had to choose one of several people to watch, it would definitely be Trip Jordy. And yeah, he's definitely he does sharp work in the ring. So now that you've gotten your two matches, your two. Well, how was your debut match? Like first off, before I go any further, I just got like two more questions. But how was your debut match? Like, were you like nervous, or were you like, something? I've been trained by two of the best. I got this, or was there like a bit of both?
Well, the thing about my debut is that I had no idea it was happening until maybe 30 minutes before it happened because I was the first match on the show that I worked. By the way, Ace Pro Wrestling in my little hometown here of Teaneck, New Jersey. Shout out to them for giving a hometown kid a chance. I've been very just I've been trying to go anywhere I can, just helping set up shows, help pay my dues ever since I got out of school. And they just decided that, hey, this kid clearly has a background that we can hopefully rely upon to deliver something, even with pretty much zero any actual in-ring experience. So, half hour before the show starts, it's like, you're in the opener, and it's like, all right, let's do this. And I didn't particularly, I wasn't happy with it, but I also wasn't upset with it. It was exactly, I think, what I expected it to be. I've watched it back, the match a few times. I've picked up a lot of little things from it that when you're, of course, in the heat of the moment, there's a lot of nerves. You don't really know what to expect. You go out there, you kind of just fly by the seat of your pants, but it's done, it's over with. You get it out of your system, you work through the kinks, and you do better next time. And I thought my second match was a lot better than my first.
Yeah, I could definitely see you getting better and better and whatnot. And like everything, it gets better with time. But hey, at least you made the leap and you did something that not a lot of fans can say that they've done, and that was, actually get into the get to actually get the training and get into the industry and do your thing. So you've had your two matches. I just got like two more before I pass over to Kathy. And my second to last question is: now that you've had your two debut matches, who are like your top five opponents that you'd want to wrestle in the near future? They could be from anywhere, like Indies, WBAW, some of your fellow classmates in the Black and Brave Academy.
Um, wow, okay. I don't know if I can do a top five because there's so many things wandering in my head when I think about that. Because I mean, you can get to, your dream opponents, or you can get to things that are actually, what I consider realistic for the current time and place in the business I'm in. Dion Roosman, who is another Black and Brave graduate who has actually recently came back from a pretty serious knee injury recently. He was actually doing his rehab while I was at Black and Brave at the academy with us. So I got a chance to connect with him a lot, got to roll around with him a little bit in the ring. He's got incredible presence, very strong, very powerful. He wrestles a fair bit for Wrestle Pro in the middle of New Jersey, so he does a bit of the Northeast and the Midwest. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with someday. I believe his biggest claim to fame match was he actually had a brief match with Aleister Black during the Paul Heyman era of Raw in late 2019. His name has been out there quite a bit in the last couple of years. I would definitely like to work with him because you just look at him and you just see the potential, and he's already capitalizing on a lot of it, even despite what's happened to him injury wise. So he's up there. And then just to give a bit of variety to my list, John Cena is a dream opponent of mine. I've idolized John ever since I was a kid. He was one of the first big workout inspirations I had when I was still growing up and getting bullied a fair bit and kind of just looking to overcome that. And he gave me something to believe in. And so just to kind of be able to dance with him under those bright lights would be a dream come true, just because I think to both of us, I think it would mean something because he very much has always been supportive of me and my passions for getting into the business when I've been able to cross paths. And then if I could name one more, I I mean, I hate to be cliche, but I mean, Seth Rollins is just the best of the best. It's one thing just to be able to say that watching him up close in a facility that is training you and trying to help you become better than yourself. He's definitely the kind of person that I think I would I could wrestle him 1,000 times, and I think we would have a different match and also a better match 1,000 times because I think I have a lot of the same fundamentals as he does mentally of no matter how high of a level you're at, there's always a little bit room to get better and better and better no matter what you do, no matter how great you already are. And just from that sense, I think he would be a great kind of measuring stick for where I could go for my in-ring career.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be cool. Teacher versus student, Seth Rollins versus Vincent Michaels. Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Those are, I gotta say, a lot of those matches that you see with teacher versus student, those are one of the best to see. You know, because it's like pretty much coming of age, like seeing what the student has can show the teacher in the ring, and it's just great to see it. But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pass over to Kathy. I know Kathy has a couple of questions as well. So, Kathy, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, we'll actually turn it over to Rob because I don't want to take Rob's questions. I got a ton of questions to ask him, so Rob
Oh,
can
okay.
go.
What a twist.
All
Rob,
right,
you're
cool.
up.
I was gonna say, yeah, plot twist right there.
Rob always gets the short end of the stick, and he's like, "Y'all took all my questions." So Rob, there you go.
There you go. All right, thank you, Kathy. You know what I mean? Hit him with the old razzle dazzle right here. All right, that's what's up. All right, keep me on my toes. So what's going on, man? How you doing today? How's everything
I'm
going in
doing
Jersey?
great.
How's Jersey doing today? How's it over there, man?
It's pretty cold. I actually had to do some. I'm doing physical therapy on the elbow right now. That's not
Ooh.
doing too well. It's the struggle, but you push through. I should be having a match next weekend, next Saturday. So hopefully I'll be all right for it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, one of my questions was, when is your next match? He says next Saturday.
Yes, Ace Pro Wrestling is having another show next Saturday. I'll be a little busy this Saturday. There's a show going on. It's called AW Revolution. Oh, sorry, this Sunday AW Revolution. I'll be there. I'll be in the crowd. I'm sure. You never know what could happen, but no, I'll just be in the crowd taking pictures and entertaining the folks with that stuff.
So how's you got some good seats for that show?
I don't have any tickets yet.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
Everything's
okay.
last minute all the time. Every seat I ever get
Okay.
is last minute.
So, do you go up to the? Do you wait? Do you go up to the, the stadium or whatever where they're having it at, and try and get, hey man, do you got a couple extra tickets? Da, da, da. You do that?
Yeah, they always end up having last minute tickets.
That's cool. That's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So, on your next match that you're wrestling, man, do you know who you're wrestling yet?
I probably won't know until right before.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I wasn't sure if they had, all the matches, scheduled yet or whatever.
No, it's well because I'm still with the crew. The way that we do it for a process is that we kind of just see who's around for as far as the rookies go, and then we kind of see who we compare off with rookies and veterans to see who needs what sort of ring time here and there and what
Mhm.
we can make do. Like the first match I had was a 1-on-1. The second match I had was a 6-man tag, so we could actually get some vets in there with us and kind of really try to put some more intricate stuff together, and that's why I thought it came off pretty well. So who knows what's going to be next week now, but I'm excited either way.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you go there, go to the shows to help with the setup and all that stuff.
Yep.
Do you have any funny setup stories? Because I have a good one. If you don't have one, I'll tell you a pretty funny one.
Actually, yeah, the very first show I helped set up, it was the weekend I got home from training, so this was Thanksgiving weekend. They were running a show, and we're actually breaking down the ring. I didn't work the show because I was like, too new to work the show, but I'm helping take down the ring. And we have like the floor mats that go around ringside. We have like a stack of them, so I'm like sitting on them. I'm trying to wrap up some jumper cables together, whatever. And so a couple of guys were carrying one of the steel beams, and someone like turned without realizing I was sitting there, and then bam, I got that beam right to the front of the head. Yeah,
Mm.
got got a nice little goose egg right up here. The one of the nice ladies running the show got all worried and got me an ice pack, but I was fine. It was just no cuts or nothing. It was just a little bump. It was just I was like, oh, of course this happens. Like, now you got to wrap me in bubble wrap every time I come over. Okay.
There you go. Oh man, because I have one. My very first time, doing setup and stuff. We were doing the ring setup, and we were up there. We got all the, the ropes and all. We were tightening all, tightening everything up. It's like, I forget what it was. Start in the middle, go like 15 or something. So I'm
Yep,
sitting here
yep, yep.
putting them in, righty tighty, lefty loosey, right? You know what I mean? Well, the way I was sitting there, I was talking to a couple people, behind me. So I was facing kind of like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So the way I was going right like this, right? Like
Ah,
going left. So instead of facing like that, so I'm sitting here going like this. And it's like, why is this not getting any tighter? You know what I mean? What are we doing wrong? And then all of a sudden, boom, the thing sheets off, and this is like, sure. I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh man. Yep, that was me. I'm sorry. That was me. Like, you damn podcaster. I was like, I know. It was me. But we got back on, man. We were good to go. After that, what I mean, I was like, all right. Yeah. Next time, I'm not going to be like, hey, what's going on? I'll just sit there. I'll talk to the corner. Oh man. So when you started training, man, how was that like, man? Because there's always the thing, man. You could be in shape, but there's a difference between being in shape and ring shape. You know what I mean? So getting in that ring shape, man. How was that first, like, couple weeks, man? Because I know how it is, man. Like, but I started training late in life. Like 39. I'm 40 now. You know what I mean? And, I've learned my limitations. Like, I can't sprint anymore. So if I'm getting chased by a monster, I'm gonna get eaten unless somebody's slower than me. So you know what I mean? Like, getting that in that
well,
ring shape, man. I was like, ooh, all right.
well, yeah. See, the funny thing is, I'm really not athletic at all. So when I got
Mm-hmm.
there, probably the one thing I actually had going for me was I've always had really good wind. But I've just never been a real athlete. I've never been in really good particular. Like, a lot of people say I'm in, football shape. I'm a big hefty guy, but I didn't have a lot of definition. I had a lot of loose, just kind of fat hanging off of me. Just not a lot aesthetically going for me. But I get in there and I can be a strong, powerful guy. I get in there, I wouldn't know my own strength a lot of the times. I'd have trouble picking up people here and there. Have to really get some weightlifting under my belt. So those first weeks they were pretty rough. You kind of have to figure out. Sometimes you just gotta not hesitate. You just kind of gotta go for certain things. Don't let your brain get in the way of your heart. is the way I always think about it, because if you let that happen, you're gonna lose every single time. You just gotta ignore it and just go for it. Same thing actually in my second match. We're coming up with ideas for it, and it was you know you and this other guy, you can do dual suicide dives. And of course, I say, oh yeah, I can do that. I've never done a suicide dive. Not even in training have I done a suicide dive. And you know what? They told me in training that my jumping isn't very good. I've got pretty weak ankles. I've got pretty poor joints just from spending a lot of my life being overweight. So, little things like that I have to work on over time to get better, just for the sake of my own health, and of course, having a stable wrestling career. But you know what? I did that suicide dive pretty freaking smooth for a first time ever with no prior practice. So, little things like that, you kind of just got to go for it.
Yeah, because I've done it. I've been in training. Even though I'm just a ref, I mean, they train me like to do stuff like a wrestler. That
Oh, of
I had to
course. Yeah,
learn
you
how to
have to.
yeah, I've had to learn how to run the ropes and all that, and yeah, like we've done spots and stuff where doing whatever and all, and yeah, every time it's like, all right, I gotta go do this, and then that, and it was like every time I did that, I'd mess up or something, you know what I mean? It was like just don't think about it, you know what I mean? Just da 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 da. So like we're doing it, and he just be asking, trainer just ask questions like, yeah, what'd you think about that? And I go do it. It's like, oh man, I wasn't even thinking about that, you know what I mean? So I did way better, you know.
Yeah, but I do have to say that the one I personally my favorite thing about Black and Brave is that last year they actually were sent a professional WWE style ring, to use for the facility. So
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. When the first time you ever take a bump is in that WWE ring, and the first time you run the ropes is with those real WWE ropes. Oh boy, does that suck! But you know what?
Oh
It's
man.
awesome. It's awesome because if you want to talk about feeling authentic, if you want to talk about wanting to do the things you see on TV, not in a way where it's like, oh, anyone could do this, but if you got the heart for it, then by all means, it's the coolest thing in the world. And after a while, you kind of learn to like the pain. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, yeah. After a while, you're just like, yeah, that's right. Let's roll up and do another one, man. I'm ready to roll. I
Oh
guess you
yeah.
gotta have that mindset. Yeah, you gotta have that mindset, I guess. Yeah, because yeah, wrestling, it's not made for everybody. I've actually seen, big dudes and stuff, and go in there, just to go training, once, and then it's like, oh, I'm good, yeah, this ain't for me, It's like, it ain't for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, through the process of my time at the academy, definitely got whiplashed a few times. Probably got a concussion, if I'm being honest. But got a rib misplaced. I had to go to the chiro and get that reset one
Mm.
day, just because I couldn't sleep right for a couple of days.
Whew.
And by all means, I didn't. I that I was one of the people with the least injuries in the class. So
Mm.
you know, it is what it is, and the people with the
Yeah.
heart, they make it, and the people what they don't. The one thing I hope Merrick wouldn't mind me saying this, but the one thing Merrick told me is that there's nothing wrong with just buying a ticket. There's nothing wrong with just saying this isn't for me. I'm just gonna stay a fan. I'm just gonna stay on the other side of that guardrail. But as much as I love that, at the end of the day, I'm gonna buy tickets to WrestleMania every year until the day I'm at WrestleMania. That's the one thing I want to say I'll do. There's nothing like it. You got to be there one way or another.
There you go. Now, since you have little connections and stuff, man, do you get to, go backstage, maybe eat at catering or something at WrestleMania or something, maybe
I've actually
get
never
there a
got
little
to do
early?
that. I'm really salty. I'd love
Oh
to try
man.
their catering.
Oh man. Oh man, because I was like, man, I think you might have a connection or two, what I mean, in WWE, you know what I mean? So,
Well, you know what? It's funny. I definitely do have my friends here and there, but it's always been the kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'll see you before the show, and we'll, say hi or whatever. It's like, oh, well, if whenever I see Natalia, specifically Natalia Neidhart is the nicest lady I've ever met in wrestling in my whole life. Whenever I see her, she's never talked to me like I'm just a fan. It's always been on a very, person to person wavelength. It's always like, and now ever since I've started training for her, she's definitely been one of the people in the business that's been the most supportive of me. You know, she doesn't sugarcoat anything. She flat out told me, yes, wrestling is very hard. You kind of just gotta make do with the cards you're dealt, and you know, that's all I can say about it.
That's right. So, man, I gotta ask. You're talking about like Undertaker and stuff and horror movies and all, man. What are some movies and TV shows you're watching right now, man, that you're into? Because I'm always trying to find something. I always watching the same things like comfort shows. So I'm always trying to ask, see what's new out there.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the times now, I just always end up going back to the classics. It's really hard for me to find something nowadays that really catches my eye as like something original. So I always kind of end up going back to the fail safes of like, oh, this can never fail me because it's going to be good. I love the classic Screams or the classic Halloweens. Actually growing up, the first I don't know if you call it a horror franchise, but the first franchise I ever got into that kind of had that kind of gruesome kind of vibe was the Final Destination series. I always loved those a lot. If you want to talk about, movies getting, revivals, series revivals nowadays, I would love a Final Destination revival here and there if they wanted to. I don't know. But yeah, that's always been me. I've always been very bare bones about it. You know.
Yeah, have you seen the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix yet? I
No,
haven't
I
seen
was
it yet.
actually planning on watching that this past weekend, but some things came up. I wasn't able to watch it yet. But I'll probably take a look at some point. Yeah. I'm the kind of person where I
Yeah,
don't usually like watching things by myself either. I like to share the experience with someone, especially horror, because I've built up kind of a tolerance to a lot of that stuff. So I kind of try to find people that will watch it, but don't really watch it enough to be like used to it. So like they can freak out and I can laugh at them freaking out kind of thing. I enjoy that aspect as well. Because that way it's like double enjoyment for me. I can appreciate the movie. And if the movie sucks, well hey, I got to see my friend cry. So that's cool.
there you go. That's right. Yeah, man. I'm one with the classics too, man. I like Friday the 13th and Freddy
Of
and all
course.
that
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. I think one of my first horror movies I watched. My dad let me watch the very first, Nightmare on Elm Street when I was like 4, 5, 6, something like that. Oh yeah, that kind of messed me up for a little bit, but I was like, there's another one. Let me watch that one. There's another one. There's a dude in a hockey mask doing that, and it was like, oh, my parents, they just didn't care. They was like, here you go, you can watch
Yeah,
this. Like, oh, they're like, it's not real, right?
About
It's
my
not real. I'm like,
uncle.
oh yeah, yeah,
Like
okay.
I,
You know what I
I
mean?
remember. I still remember. I was like 8, 9 years old. I don't know why my uncle let me watch Freddy versus Jason on VHS,
Mm,
but I was
mm,
hooked. I because that was my
mm.
first time I think seeing either of those two, even though it wasn't in their classic roles of a movie, but just seeing them on screen together, it was like, wow, this is crazy.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah, and Final Destination, those movies here, they're always great. You know what I mean? Especially in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Oh
When you
yeah,
see everybody get tore up, you're just like, oh man, here we go. I did like how they came and did what was it, number 5, and they brought it all the way back around full circle. That was
yeah,
pretty
that
cool.
was that was really cool. Yeah. See, but I think that's the thing again. I'm a very artistic person, and I think over time it kind of got away for me personally. Yeah, kind of the way the Saw franchise did in the same way of like,
Mm.
it's not so much about people dying, it's more so how are they going to die? How are they going to find more creative and intricate ways to get through this and keep it gruesome and keep it fresh? And find a new unique ways to show gore and stuff. It's like that's always intrigued me. If I wasn't such a wrestling aficionado, I'm sure I'd definitely look for something in TV shows and movies, probably something to do with the horror genre.
Yeah, yeah, Saul. Yeah, that first one was, yeah, that was a real good one. I remember going to the theaters. I remember I took a date to there because it was like, oh, I'm gonna bring her to a horror movie, and when the scary movie parts come up, she's like, ah, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're good. But yeah, the whole movie, I remember everybody in there was just sitting there like, oh man, how's this gonna happen? Da, 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 da. And then when the dude got up, what I mean, it was like, oh yeah, the keys in the thing. Everybody in there was like, like that.
Yeah,
It was just like, oh, I was like, I did not see that coming. You know what I mean? I was like, wow,
yeah,
okay. Like yeah. If you look at it now, you're like, oh yeah, yeah. But at the time, I was just like, no, I didn't see. I'm sitting here. I'm like, how's he gonna get this? You know what I mean? How's Robin Hood Men in Tights gonna get out of this? He's really gonna saw his foot off. I was like, come on. This is Robin Hood Men in Tights, the Princess Bride. This is my dude. Oh man. But yeah. They went a little crazy. I didn't see the newest one, the Chris Rock one, whatever it was called. I forget. It was Spiral Boat, or I forget what it's called. Have you heard of that one?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, it was after Jigsaw. They had this one Jigsaw a couple years ago, and then
Oh,
they did,
yeah.
and then
Right.
after it, they
Wow.
did
Yeah.
Chris
That
Rock.
was like in and out of my head. It was like I'm not gonna bother with this.
Jigsaw, it was all right. It was like whatever. And then after that, Chris Rock, I guess, wrote a story for him. They're like, yeah, we'll produce it and all that. It's like
Oh, okay.
it's like from the book of Saw, the Spiral book or something. I forget. I have to look it up. I heard it's all right. I mean, well, I might check it out. But yeah. Before I pass it on over to Kathy, I do want to say, thank you, for taking time out of your busy schedule, coming on chat with us. I definitely had a blast, talking about movies and wrestling and training, all that good stuff, man. It's always good to talk about that stuff. And I wish you nothing but the best. And hopefully, since we're both on the East Coast, man, maybe I can ref a match for you one time, or sometimes I ring announce, man. I
That'd
can
be
introduce
awesome.
you to the ring, man. Yeah, that would be awesome, man. So yeah, man. So I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you go around kicking butt. Start getting titles everywhere, and yeah, man. I wish nothing but positive things for you and your family.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Kathy, floor's yours.
All right, thanks, Rob. What's up, Vincent?
What's up?
How's Tuesday treating you?
It's Tuesday. Got NXT on in the background.
Awesome. Yeah, it's actually Mardi Gras, so happy Mardi Gras. So, I know you from the fan side as there was Brock Lesnar guy and stuff like that. You were the Meatloop guy. What the hell is Meatloop?
Oh boy. Wow. Okay, so I gotta go back. God, it's actually about to be a decade since that first became a thing. So I was going to a Raw at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island in 2012. It was the Raw after No Way Out, and here's like, and this all has significance. I had a front row seat that night, and right before the show started, John Cena put out a tweet, and he said, whether if you're going to Raw tonight, or even if you're just at home, bring a sign that has the hashtag Meatloop on it. And he said, if you put it on Twitter, I'll follow you, retweet you, whatever. But if you're going to Raw, bring it to Raw. And I was already at Raw. I had a blank. One side of my poster was blank. I had a Sharpie, and so I put it on the sign. All right, cool. The problem was I was sitting on the the hard camera side of the venue, where you're not allowed to hold signs up because it blocks like their camera shot of the ring. So I wasn't allowed to hold my sign up until after the show was done, and they did the post-show dark match, the Raw dark match. And at the time, they had just done the main event where John Laurinaitis got fired for losing for when Big Show lost to John Cena the night before at No Way Out. And so, thankfully, this meant that John was doing the dark match because they were doing dark matches with him against John Laurinaitis and like David Otunga or something, Big Show, whatever. And, John makes quick work of it, whatever. He's looking around, and finally, security lets me hold up my sign, and he sees it. He just keels over laughing. The fact that someone actually got this sign into the front row of Raw, on like a few hours' notice. He takes off a wristband. He throws me the first of what would be, I think, probably a half dozen wristbands he's given me over the years. And ever since then, I kind of turned that into my little identity as the hashtag Meatloop guy. And then as time would go on, whenever, if you watch back, let's just say you put on the Royal Rumble 2015, when you watch Seth, Brock, and Cena in that classic triple threat match, when Cena comes out, you can see me in the front row with the I'm a Meatloop guy sign. And, he would always make sure, whether it's at a live event or a TV event, if he would see me with the sign, he'd give me a little salute. He'd throw me a hat, throw me a shirt, whatever. As time went on and it kind of grew, more and more people would ask about it. I would start making these one-of-a-kind T-shirts where I would take the WrestleMania logos and the SummerSlam, like the big four event logos, and I would turn them from WrestleMania into Meep Moop Mania shirts. and it would be one for me and one for John, and I would give John a shirt, and he would always be very thankful for it, and he would hold it up for a photo op or whatever. And to the best of my knowledge, he still probably has them in some random ass closet somewhere. Because I always made sure to get that man a double X because that's double XL because that's what he wears.
Yeah, I'd always see you with those shirts like Meet Moo Mania, and you'd meet him, and I'd see the pictures of it of the meet and greet. I knew you were a big fan of John Cena, but that makes it even cooler. Like you're even more of a fan with the whole Meet Moo thing. So I always wondered where that came from. So now we got the whole story. Makes sense.
So that's why you were like, because I remember I saw you on. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kathy. So I saw, so Vincent, I saw you on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I think it. I guess Kathy mentioned like you want to be on a podcast or so on. I was like, okay, and we always give everybody a chance for the most part. That's why we're here. And I'm like, okay. And then Kathy was like, Vincent Michaels, he's the Meat Moop guy. So I'm like, I was confused. I'm like, wait, is his ring name Meat Moop? Like, is that what? And he's like, no, he's the he's it's not. I'm like, okay, well, you got me confused. And then she was like, yeah, he sits at the front of the wrestling shows and whatnot. So I'm like, I couldn't put it together, and Kathy can be confusing sometimes. But yeah, wow, yeah, that's really cool. And she was like excited. She's like, yeah, Vincent, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess this is another person that she knows. But yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
All right. Yeah. So, speaking of, you're a big super fan. You always get these front row seats. I see your tweets too. Like, I'm on a flight to so and so. Don't have a ticket. I'm like, dude, you give me a heart attack. Like, you're gonna fly all these, but you probably knew you were gonna end up getting one. Have you never got a ticket? Like, has that happened?
There's been a few select times in my life where, and I'm sure, because especially as I've gotten older, I've figured out more, just like more ways to go about getting seats at various times. Like, see the way that the things work is when WWE sets up an arena the day of the show, and they put out their floor seating. A lot of times they will adding extra floor seats than what was originally included on the Ticketmaster map when seats went on sale several months beforehand. So when those seats get added to the floor the day of the show, they will have to sell them. So what they do is they just list them online, or if I'm at the box office, and I'll just buy them right up front.
Yeah, they also do that when they set up the hard cam. They'll release some of the seats around the hard cam,
Yeah,
and
they'll
that'll give
they'll
people
yeah they'll
more.
release some of the
Yeah.
hard cam seats usually for if there's any comp tickets that haven't been claimed by people. If they're in a select area, certain friends and family, there weren't enough people to claim it. So it's okay. We got these extra three seats here. Release these because they can. It's free money if they can sell them at that point. I
Yeah.
remember actually, just as a quick aside, WrestleMania 35 in New Jersey, there was a little pocket of ringside seats that were actually never sold because they were actually right next to one of the pillars that they have, like that has that canopy over the ring. So there's this section of, eight, nine, 10 chairs and like this little, diamond triangle. It's like its own like little section. And like eventually like the camera people started using it as a way to just like sit between matches, and like, vendors for like popcorn and beer start just like sitting in the chairs intermediately between matches. And it's like these seats were never listed, these seats were never sold. You're probably talking a few like thousands of dollars of potential sales you could have had that were just never listed, or were only listed the day of. The people just didn't realize were for sale or didn't want to buy. And it's just crazy how that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, they like to say WrestleMania is sold out, and I'm sitting at 34. Here's a side note too: sitting at WrestMania 34, there's two empty seats next to me. I'm like, if it's not
Yeah,
sold
yeah,
out,
yeah.
it's like they probably like didn't make it, or I don't know what happened to those two people. But yeah, there was like two empty seats next to me. Like stuff happens.
Hmm.
So, you've been front row and on the ramp for both AEW and WWE. What are some similarities between the two companies, and what's different being at the show?
Wow. I'm glad I'm actually going to talk about this because I've only ever recently really been able to get that real ringside experience with AEW because, right after they started, I got to go to the Full Gear pay-per-view in 2019, the one with Omega and Moxley in that crazy, lights out match in the main event. But I didn't get to go to another AEW, so I didn't actually get to go to like a TV Dynamite or anything until like right at the end of 2021. And right away, from the first few AEW TVs I've been to, the craziest difference is that the presentation of how AEW and WWE actually present their TV show is like night and day. It's like WWE, and don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying one is bad and one is good. They're just both very different. It's like WWE feels like a TV show that happens to be about wrestling, and AEW feels like a wrestling show that just happens to be on TV. I remember because this is a great little way to like tell the differences between the two, and like a good analogy, I think. I was at a Raw in 2016. I was in the front row, and it was one of AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. It might have actually been their first match in WWE together on a Raw in the build up to WrestleMania 32. And Kevin Owens does his frog splash on AJ on the floor right in front of me. And I didn't know this, but they cut to a commercial break as soon as that happened. And so, I'm in the front row, and AJ Styles, he's selling, he's trying to get up and get in the ring, beat the count out. And I actually held out my arm, and he actually grabbed my arm and used me to stand himself up on the floor. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. This is going to be all over television. This is going to be so cool just for like people to see him do this with me. But I didn't realize that they were on commercial break because WWE only likes people to interact with ringside during commercial breaks. When TV is on, you're in the ring. You're doing stuff in the ring. The in the ring stuff that doesn't involve the people is what happens on TV. And when the cameras are off, you can kind of go and kind of give the ringside people, I'm sure they consider their money's worth by letting people get slammed into the barricades and thrown into the crowd here and there, little things like that just to kind of give people the experience. AEW, whether the camera's on or the camera's off, everyone's fighting on the floor all the time. If Hangman Page does a moonsault to the outside right in front of me like he did in the Danielson match, it's on camera. There's always a chance that you're going to be caught in like a split-second shot somewhere if you're in the crowd, just because you don't know when it's going to happen, when it's going to come in your face. And I think it speaks a lot to the spontaneity of how they present their wrestling. WWE is very television oriented. We've got our characters that we want to show the ways we want to show them. And AEW, it's very chaotic, and it's very in your face, and it's very I'm sure to that demographic of wrestling fan, that's what you want. And when you go to WWE, you're just going to see wrestlers. You're going to see, oh my God, it's Roman Reigns. I see him on TV raise his finger. I'm going to raise my finger with him, kind of thing. You're not going to care if he, throws God, who has he been wrestling recently? If he throws Brock Lesnar into the barricade during their match, they don't care about that. Just I want to see Roman Reigns. But in AEW, it's like you see everyone, but you see them because they're going to brawl in front of you, and they're going to be in your face, and they're going to do whatever they got to do to get themselves over and get the match over. And it's just very different philosophies of how wrestling is presented on television.
Yeah, unless you're at a house show for WWE where they get to be themselves and act kind of silly.
House shows.
That
I'm actually very disappointed.
You won't see that on live TV.
I haven't missed a show at MSG in probably a solid decade, and I'm gonna have to miss this Saturday's live event because I'll be in Florida for AEW. And I don't know what they're going to do with Brock Lesnar in that advertised championship match, but if something big happens, boy, am I going to be upset.
Yeah, you be kicking yourself for that one, but I mean, you can't split yourself in half and go to both. I mean, you can't do that. So
I know. I actually
until we can figure
debated
that
going.
out.
I
Yeah.
I debated going on Saturday night and then flying into Orlando Sunday morning, but I just couldn't make it work. It's fine.
You're just that crazy though. I would
I
believe
am.
you.
I am that crazy. Yes, I am.
I would believe you doing that. It was like, yep, he did it. Yeah, so I had one of those interactions too. Like this is why like Becky's so cool, and I know you're a Becky fan too. But when she beat up Charlotte, it was right before Hell in the Cell. She beat up Charlotte right in front of me. That was when she took her. She had the black
She
wig
was in the
on, and she,
disguise.
yeah,
Yes, I remember.
beat her up right in front of me. And as she's beating her up, like she put her in this armor and she's walking away, she had her camera eye on Charlotte and she had her regular, like off camera on me. Like she acknowledged me, like I was wooing, hooping and hollering and stuff like that. But that's how cool like Becky is. Like even on camera, she'll still acknowledge the fans. And I told
Yeah.
her about, like, I tried to explain it to her when I met her, but I didn't do like such a good job. And she's like, I was like, yeah, before you were the man, you did this, and I showed her the picture, and she signed it. And she's like, well, I was always the man. Like she was roasting me and stuff. It was really funny.
It's great. I love Becky. Just as an aside, as I'm sure everyone can imagine, when you're at, I hope I'm not revealing too much about Black and Brave when I talk about this. I'm sure they won't mind. When you're in the same facility and everyone is kind of training and lifting weights and doing their own thing, of course, I I uh I think Becky is really underrated just as far as what she's gone through from a fitness standpoint to get herself into the shape she's in right now, especially after having a baby. I mean, good lord. I'm sure majority of people listening to this have already seen the post that she put up, and also Black and Brave put up today of her training in the gym, and she's got the marks from Bianca's whip still on her, but she works her ass off, and I think everyone kind of expects that from Seth Rollins, because we've seen the documentaries of him when he was rehabbing from his injuries. We've seen the 24 specials. We've seen the 365s. We know CrossFit Jesus. We know what that's all about. But actually getting to see Becky Lynch in that kind of environment, it's like inspiring. It really is, and it's like, my God, like if she can do that, why the hell can't I do that? It just makes you want to get up and just do work a little bit harder than you already are, and it's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah, she was still working out when she was pregnant. I was like, she's insane. And she kept in shape the whole time, and then she's in even better shape than before she had the baby. I was like, that's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
So that's what I was gonna ask you too. Like now that Becky probably trained you in some of the classes and Seth trained you, now that you go to the WWE shows and you see them wrestle, are you like, they taught us that and they taught us this? And like do you see, instead of it being of a fan, now you're more of a wrestler, do you see like,
Oh
I
yeah,
see
no,
where
now
they get this. This makes sense now.
when I go to shows now, it's definitely a lot more like picking things apart as I watch a match now. You know, when I go to a show, it's really not so much for the entertainment aspect. I mean, it's always for the sake of being entertained, but it's also a lot more like, oh wow, like so this is like it's almost like watching a magic show from behind the scenes, I think. Like you're just seeing all the little things that I don't know how to do yet, but I can see how they're able to do them, and it's like wow, and it's like I never you never noticed them before because you just don't know, and it's so much more fascinating as a worker to be able to actually see, and I'm sure it helps too when you've been to as many shows as I have, being as up close as many times as I've been. When you see things done a million times in your face and you don't realize like really what they are, but you know they're there, but you don't know what they are yet. And then someone is actually able to tell you what they are. It's like everything just kind of clicks in your head. And it's like boom, 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 boom. Oh, now this all makes sense. Oh, now that all made sense. Now I'll watch a match and I'll kind of be able to pick things apart a little bit more. I'll watch things and kind of probably be more judgmental than I should be, because who the hell am I? I'm not the one on TV wrestling, but it's like, oh, hey, well, that could have been a little bit better. That could have been a little bit better. But, that's what we're all critics.
Yeah, I'm not a wrestler, but like I did take I graduated from college with a mass communications degree like in broadcasting. So like when I'm watching wrestling, I'm like, "Oh, that's a voiceover. They pipe that in." Like I still watch it as a fan, but I'm like I can hear the little
Right,
things.
right.
Like watching Impact or WWE, I'm like, "Yeah, that was a voiceover. He didn't really say that while he was there." Or just watching TV shows, like it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it, being that trained like in tune to stuff, but it's kind of cool to know that too at the same token. So you have Seth is one of you're a fan of Seth, you're a fan of Becky, fan of Natty, fan of John Cena, fan of Roman, but who are some like people that we wouldn't know that you're a fan of?
That's a very good question. Um, I'm very big on Sheamus. Sheamus has always been a favorite of mine. I always kind of, before I got into wrestling, I always wanted to kind of model what I pictured an in-ring style being after someone like him, because he's always just always rock solid. He's always very, in your face, very stiff with what he does. He doesn't leave anything to the imagination. He hits you and he hits you hard, you know. But, then the first time I got in a ring, it was like, okay, maybe I'm not capable of doing this. And that's fine. Everyone has something that's tailor made to them and what they want to be in wrestling. And I realized very quickly on, okay, that's really not what's for me. And that's all good. But Sheamus has always been one of my favorites.
What about AEW? Who are your favorites there?
Um, hmm. I really like Darby just because I love seeing him get thrown around. I when he the way that he's able to the body control it takes to do what he does, and while I'm sure it can't feel pleasant, the fact that he's never racked up any type of serious injuries is very impressive in my opinion, just because there's always so much that can go wrong. I was actually at front row at the Dynamite a few weeks ago when Ray Phoenix got his arms snapped backwards. That happened right in front of me when he got put through the table at the end of that tag team match. And I actually have it on video. I was recording the video of the spot when it happened. I didn't even realize it had happened because it was like that quick. And then I went back and rewatched on my phone, and I was just, it was gruesome, of course, to watch. But when you see things like that happen, it gives you even more of an appreciation. Of course, everything's an accident. It's not like it's done with any malicious intent. But when you see people like Darby do the things that he does, and not only be able to make them look chaotic, but also be able to be very safe at the same time, it's like all the respect in the world, because he's putting himself through hell, way more than the average person of a slightly bigger size, bigger frame would have to in order to make a statement. And he does it amazingly.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy. He does some crazy things. So you mentioned you take videos, you also take pictures, and there's another, friend of ours, Kim. She goes by Kim Berlaskick. She's another, big Becky fan. She's made some of Becky's jackets, stuff like that. You two will go like in the front row or on the ramp, and it's like you take dueling pictures, of not of each other, but like your picture's badass and her picture's badass, and then it's like you started taking pictures with like a really badass camera like she does. So like, what's some
Yeah, but
pointers?
I can't lie. She eclipsed
Yeah, she's
me a
really
long
good at
time
it.
ago. She's on another level. Her camera work, her photography is just it's the toppest of top notch. And she's expanded now. She's done photography for AEW as well as WWE.
Yeah.
Just the connections that she's made through her photography alone. I've done pretty well for myself just kind of being at shows and doing that. But as far as the content that she's created for people, because, when you want to talk about getting people into wrestling, let's just say that you're some 12-year-old kid, 13, 14-year-old kid, and you're scrolling through Instagram and you've never seen wrestling before. Pictures like Kim's are the kind of pictures you're going to see and you're going to be like, oh my God, like, who are these people? Like, that's what's going to draw people into wrestling, I think, in the current age that we live in with social media. And I don't really think that my photography does that in a way. I think I'm more in tune with just capturing uh, the moment of something. She captures a lot more of the ambiance. Her pictures capture great lighting and great aesthetics of what people are wearing. Meanwhile, I might get a really crazy shot of like Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, covered in blood, really up close, really gritty looking. And it's just, I think, a different way that, we go about taking pictures, and, quality is quality, but she's like several notches above me, and I think anyone else that tries to do what she does, because I really think that she was the first fan to really get that notoriety from, like, just taking amazing photos at ringside.
Yeah, her colors are like off the charts. Like
Yeah.
just everything she captures, I'm like, wow. And then a lot of the times they find her and they'll like point her at her or look at her. And it's like that's
She
pretty cool now.
she hasn't been hired yet. Like I've seen her work, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like I am surprised they have not like pretty much like been like, okay, you're coming with us. Like just like how they did with Speedy, who does AEW's work.
Yeah.
I know of him before. Like he got with AEW. Like he was in South Florida, still doing amazing work. I'm surprised they haven't snatched her up yet.
They
Can't
should.
really talk about that.
They should. If
Who
they didn't
knows? They might
already,
already have. I didn't say that.
that would be crazy. No, you didn't hear it first, but yeah. So another thing that kind of ties into the whole picture thing, you and I actually met at in Access at WrestleMania 34, and I was like, man, I suck at selfies. You're the selfie king. I need you to take this selfie of us. How'd you become the selfie king? And like, what tips would you give people to take really good selfies? Just like you take really good
It's funny.
pictures.
A lot of the things that I'm called just kind of caught on organically. I'll have people. I got recognized last year. I was at my like the nearby mall closest to me, and a couple of teenagers actually came up to me that recognized me, and they come up, oh hey Vincent. And of course, it takes a second because I'm not used to being called Vincent because that's not, my actual first name. And then I realized that, oh my God, there are actually people on this planet that only know me as that guy that sees me, but people only know me as the guy that goes and sits ringside at WWE shows. And so they come up to me and, they asked me, oh, you're the selfie king. Can we take a selfie with you? Can you follow us on Instagram? It's like that sort of thing. But the selfie king thing was something I just kind of started calling myself just because I'm always taking selfies at ringside. I'm always taking selfies at ringside with wrestlers, and I kind of just developed it. And then in 2014, my friend Benjamin, who was the only witness to this, that will ever actually give me credit for it. It was at SummerSlam in Los Angeles, the year that Brock gave John Cena the 16 German suplexes. It was before the show went on the air, and I was trying to take like a selfie, in the front row with like the SummerSlam like banner behind me. And for whatever reason, the whole crowd, it might have been, maybe like a few thousand people had just been in the building, like the doors had like just recently opened. But a few thousand people just started chanting selfie at me. I guess because I was kind of just within everyone's peripheral vision, and it's like this dumb kid like leaning over the barricade trying to take a selfie with the ring, and everyone just started chanting selfie at me, and I was like, maybe I'll just call myself the selfie king. Maybe it'll catch on. Maybe it'll get me somewhere one day. And then I had John Cena actually later that year. I actually had him record a promo video for me just like kind of giving me a shout out and asking people to follow me on my socials, the Vincent Michaels socials. And in the video, he actually called me the Selfie King. So that was also kind of like the next part of it, where kind of was like, oh, John Cena called this kid the Selfie King, and he called me the Meatloop guy. So okay, he's this kid's got his gimmicks, these little things that people call him. But I kind of just came up with that as my own little joke.
Yeah, I was like, when I met you, I was like cell phone illiterate back then. It was like, 2018. I was like, you're the selfie king here, and I just gave you my phone. I was like,
Yeah, well,
can we get a
it's
selfie
funny because
together?
I can't like the number of people that have come up to me. It's like, oh, here, you take our selfie. It's like, okay, it's funny. Like I never thought it would actually turn into anything significant. And it's nice to say that I've made so many friends through wrestling travel. I've people from across the world. A lot of people from England and Ireland, and I've known people from Spain and Australia and Russia and Mexico and good Lord, like Canada, everywhere you can think of where wrestling is. I know someone that's a fan of it just because of doing what I do. I haven't got to go to all those places yet, but I've been to a lot of them, at least in the country. I haven't been outside the country for wrestling yet. Well, I did go to Canada for that SummerSlam in 2019. But hopefully this year, the rumblings is that there's going to be a big WWE pay-per-view in the UK this year. And if it's happening when it's supposed to be supposedly happening in September, I'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah, they definitely need to go over there again, not just for house shows. They need a good pay per view.
Yes.
They're due for one. They
And
should
I
have a
can see
WrestleMania.
everybody I know from
WrestleMania. They should have one over there.
because no one from the UK has really been able to come over here for any of the
Yeah.
WrestleManias or anything since the pandemic, obviously. So yeah, everyone's just kind of like this one big little family.
People always say, like, some people on social media, oh, social media is not real, your Twitter friends aren't real. It's like, that's a bunch of BS. It's like, I met you at WrestleMania. Like, you can meet people at WrestleMania that you talk to on Twitter. We're
Yeah.
like living proof of that. So there you
Yeah,
go.
I have way too many good and bad experiences with social media that have told me that it's very real and it can have a very real impact on your life. But that's the world we live in, and all you can do is roll with it and grow and just you can't run from it. Everyone is gonna connect the way that they want to connect or not connect, and if I hadn't met you, what would have been 6 years ago now, I might not be on this show right now. So you never know how weird things like that work out in perspective. And for all the people, hey, for all the people hopefully watching this right now, I hope that they've all been able to connect with people in wrestling in a similar fashion. Maybe even through watching a show like this. Who knows? It's crazy how people get brought together.
Yep, that's definitely true. Remy and I became friends because he saw my tweet getting read on Raw by Chris Jericho back in 2016. So I mean, there you go.
You, Kathy, you really got to stop telling people that. You're gonna make me look like a stalker now. Now people are gonna say, "Oh, I can't tweet WB anymore because Remy's gonna say." I'm just kidding.
I had like 500 people follow me in 2 hours after that tweet. So I mean, I don't know if you were one of them, but I mean, there you go. It wasn't just you.
Well, if you had actually, like I said, so here we go, Vince. I'm gonna tell you. Okay, I'm gonna try to get. So Chris Jericho read one of her tweets, and I had a thing where if a wrestler read a tweet for somebody or they got mentioned by WWE, I would actually congratulate them. That way, I could have more people to talk to about something that we both enjoy on Twitter. She was one of them, and I was like, "Congratulations!" Then she replied, and then fast forward, I think 2 years later, I was actually on. I was working for another podcast called Rest City Radio, which is back. People check them out, but that's another story for another time. But I was working for them, booking people, and I brought up the concept of our other segment that we have now, 15 Minutes of Fandom. And I always said one of the people I wanted to have on was Kathy because she's very she has a lot of zeal for professional wrestling. I was like, okay, let's see, let's have her on. George, who owns Wrestle City Radio, is like, okay, yeah, I like where that's going. Had her on. She was pretty good, and she got to interview Rory Gulak, who is the brother of Drew Gulak, and I was like, she's pretty good. And then she was like, yeah, if you guys ever want me back on, let me know. 1 month passes, she retweets it. 6 months passes, 6 months pass, she's retweeting it again. So I'm like, George, you see this? He's like, yeah, yeah. And I was hoping that would have brought him back into podcasting, but he was more focused on running his own shows, his own promotions. So I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to start my own podcast then, because the bug done bit me and it bit me hard. So I got her on. She's been pretty good. She has been tremendous. Booked Thunder Rosa, Paige's mom, and several other people on this show. And Rob over here, I saw him on the sidewalk somewhere saying he'll do a podcast with Cheetos. So I was like, I'll throw in some tacos and
Wait, I
how
could
about
have
some
got Cheetos for this?
tacos? But yeah, that's pretty much how we started.
We're gonna start giving free food now. That's how that's gonna work.
Maybe you'll land a sponsor. Who knows?
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So
Yeah,
my last question. Oh, go
uh,
ahead.
I was gonna say just a quick funny story about being mentioned by WWE. The only time I've ever been mentioned by them in any sort of on-screen thing was if you remember in 2016, there was that little story where AJ Styles got locked out of his car after a SmackDown taping, or actually it was during SmackDown Live. He got locked out of his car, and I was actually the one that actually took the picture that went viral and tweeted it of him trying to get into his car with a coat hanger because it was at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, and it just went viral. Next thing I know, it's actually on this. Like they had this little WWE news segment on the network every morning, and they put my tweet on the network with my name and everything, and had Meatloop guy at the time on it. And I was like, oh boy! So that got me a nice little jump in followers at the time. That was cool.
They haven't like mentioned you by name, but your face has been in certain
My
things.
face been a lot of places.
Yeah,
I've been
it was in
yeah.
a
I mean,
video, I think, for like Royal Rumble or something. You were in
yeah,
one of their
I've been
videos.
featured in a few commercials where they have just various shots of people doing like faces. Especially the Royal Rumbles. Yeah, actually, the one thing I can say is that when WrestleMania 35 was in New Jersey, if you ever are scrolling through like your Instagram stories and like in between stories, you'll have a little ad that'll pop up for like 10 seconds or whatever it is. The year that WrestleMania was in New Jersey, they had one of those little scrolling ads on Instagram, and someone was actually able to like save the video clip and send it to me because they used a clip of me spliced in between like wrestlers, saying things or whatever. It's like Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon, me, and then like Miz or somebody because it's me doing like a face, because I need fans in there. And it's like, wow, I can say that I was in a WrestleMania commercial for a WrestleMania that happened 10 minutes from my house, and it's just crazy to like be able to say that just because of doing what I've done. And that was before I got into wrestling. Now the sky's the limit, you know what I mean? Now it's time to really get going.
Before so when they had the Hall of Fame videos for people, they did one for the Dudley Boys. And I was like, ooh, I was waiting when they started talking about tables. And I was waiting and I was waiting and I was like, boom, they caught me. I'd gone to a SmackDown when SmackDown was taped. It was recorded. And I had a sign that said like Dudley's restaurant serving 3D at every table. So when I was
Ah,
watching that Hall of Fame video and they started talking about tables, I was like, let me see if I'm gonna see myself. And sure enough, I'm in the Dudley's Hall of Fame video.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So my last question, you kind of mentioned it earlier in the show. You lost a lot of weight and then you trimmed up a lot for wrestling. So what would you tell somebody watching right now, like if they want to lose weight? Like it's different for everybody, but like for the route you took, what would you tell them?
Oh boy. The best thing I can say is take your time. Success doesn't happen overnight. Success isn't a quick 90-day challenge or a quick 30-day diet. It's a lifestyle. You can't just wake up one day and expect your whole world to turn around. You have to be willing to put in the work, put in the determination. It's very much in a lot of ways actually to relate it to wrestling, the same way as like just going to wrestling school. You know, you get certain people that get into this expecting it to be a certain level of difficulty that they just can't handle. And it's very unfortunate to see that because I think that everyone has the potential for greatness. I'm never someone that's going to put down anyone for quitting or giving up on something that means a lot to them, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to live the way that they want to live. I can't judge anyone for that. I lived the way that was very unhealthy for me for a very long time. But when it was time to get serious, I got serious. And I can say that you know at 25 years old, I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been in. Um, you know, uh, the most I ever weighed was in like the 320-pound range. And that's going back to well over a decade ago. This is in my teenage years, which is why even now as a still very young adult, I'm already paying the price for it. I've got back issues, I've got ankle issues, I've got hip issues. Very minute things that you wouldn't think would happen uh, this early on, but they have because of the way that I was living. And I owe it to wrestling, and I owe it to people like John Cena and Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, and I have to shout out again Dion Roosman, Shane Boucher, who is another one of the CrossFit instructors at Black and Braves Academy, who is another graduate from there actually. For really instilling that mindset of like, don't give up now. It might be hard today, but if it's hard today, it's going to be less hard tomorrow. You know, just push through, and have patience. Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't, there's no such thing as winning the lottery every single day. You can't just wake up and change your life. It's got to happen over time.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully somebody out there watching and listening will, get inspired. Not just by your weight loss, but by like you were a fan and they're, now you're a wrestler and they could be like, hey, maybe I'll do that too. They might sign up for Black and Brave. Who knows?
Well, I guess that's a great little segue. If I can plug the school for a quick second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
For anyone that would like to go to Black and Brave Academy, the best wrestling academy in the country. Merrick Brave and Tyler Black, currently known. I think you might have heard of him, Seth Rollins. They run a pretty tight ship over there. If you want a very solid 12-week course of the best wrestling training you've ever had in your life, whether you're a brand new schmuck like I was, or whether you've already had some experience under your belt, just go to their website, Black and Brave. I believe it's blackandbravewrestling.com or blackandbraveacademy.com. I can't remember which. Just Google it. You'll find it. I believe they are currently taking applications for 2024. They've already filled up their classes for 2022 and 2023 because, come on, they're that freaking good, you know. So if you want to become a pro wrestler and be trained by the best to be the best, go look up Black and Brave Wrestling and start your journey.
Something really cool Merrick mentioned while he was on our show was you pay a one-time fee and you are basically Black and Brave for life. You go train over there when you want to. You're like basically a legacy of sorts. Like
Yes, I
the
could
gym
board a
is
plane
there.
tomorrow.
Like, yep.
I could board a plane tomorrow to Davenport, Iowa, and go walk in that place. And because I'm a graduate, I can use the facility anytime and whenever I want for the rest of my life. And that's the biggest benefit you could possibly say, to have access to, a facility like that with, especially now having, WWE specialized ring, to train in, um, I believe personally that CrossFit is the best type of physical training you could ever have, but they've got many, many options for you beyond that there if you're not a fan of CrossFit. But I mean, it is the best. So, just go in there and listen to the right people. And if I can get in shape, anyone can get in shape. But I'm actually really glad you brought up Merrick's name because, I watched you guys do your interview with him not too long ago. And Merrick has always been a very, he's a very straight shooter. He takes what he does very seriously, and he takes wrestling very seriously. And you want to talk about seriousness? Merrick had to retire um, quite a while ago due to a pretty severe neck injury, as many wrestlers have in the past. And two very unfortunate men, JT Click and Play and Augustus Draven. These two, uh, boy, words I shouldn't say on this program. Took it upon themselves to take this guy who has had to leave the business that he loves. The business that brought him the closest friendships and partnerships he's ever had in the world. And, even after having to leave the business, still stay in it as much as he can to train, and help cultivate talent, help cultivate legacies. These two horrible people decided to take it upon themselves to get him in a ring on the show that he helps promote, SCW Pro, and actually, just beat him up, and they gave him a horrible looking DDT on a chair. And Merrick wasn't always the kindest guy to me, but kindness isn't what it takes to get you through wrestling. What gets you through wrestling is guts and determination. And I know Merrick. I know he's been through worse, and I know that he's gonna hopefully be all right. I heard he just got out of the hospital a couple of days ago. For any updates, on social media, SCW Pro on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm sure other various social media platforms. They've got some big events coming up. I've helped set up many of their shows in the past. I'm sure I will be back there someday. I'm sure I will be helping do a lot more than set up. And if I see those two no good, boy oh boy, am I going to give them a piece of my mind, because they think they think they're tough. They think that they're all that, but they ain't brave, and they ain't Merrick brave. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, best
Get well
wishes.
soon, Coach.
Yeah, best wishes to Merrick on getting well soon. And karma. You know what they say about karma. Those two will get theirs eventually. I have a good feeling about that. Well, before I turn it over to Remy to close out the show, just want to say thank you for coming on the show. It always pops me to when I'm watching TV and I see your face. I'm like, there he is. He's in the front row again. And I look forward to seeing you more. Like, it's kind of like, where's Waldo? It's like, where's Vincent? There he is. Looking forward to seeing you on shows, and looking forward to seeing how your wrestling career goes. And I get to say, like, I knew him before, when he was a fan. Now he's a wrestler. And I wish you nothing but good luck in the future, and hope your elbow gets better pretty soon and kick some ass and take names.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No problem. All right, Remy.
Vincent, we really and truly appreciate you, taking time out of your busy schedules to be on our show. It's an honor to talk to another well, I think you're our first ever graduate, our first ever Black and Brave student. So it's an honor to speak to somebody that graduated from that school. We're very grateful for you for giving us opportunity as well. We wish you nothing but the best. Best believe I'll be yelling at the top of my lungs, screaming at the top of my lungs when I see tonight AEW Dark or AEW Dynamite. I see Vincent, the only alternative, Vincent Michaels, going head to head with somebody, or I'll see you on WWE Raw or SmackDown or even NXT, going head to head with somebody. And I definitely hope that all the positive things come through for you, and you get to where you want to be in wrestling. You get to wrestle all your dream opponents and so on. It's always a great thing to see, people, just um I guess elevate, for lack of a better term, elevate in their career and meet their goals and so on. So we wish all that greatness for you and whatnot. And best believe I'll be like, wow, we just had him on the show. That's crazy. Now he's doing big things in WWE. Wait, did he just fight AJ Styles and Seth Rollins and win? Wait, did this guy actually fight MJF and he out promoted him? Wow, that's crazy. Hey, I know you probably think I'm just saying that, but you never know, man. I mean, things could happen. Look at
Ah,
CM Punk.
I'm gonna out promo MJF, and then I'm gonna come back on this show.
Hey, we always welcome second comings. We always welcome returns, man. So whenever you're ready, man. But I just gotta say, like once again, thank you very much. And before we shut down the show, where can fans find you on social media when they want to, find out when your next show appearances, purchase, the only alternative Vincent Michaels merchandise, or where can, or if they want to ask you advice, they'd be like, "Yo, Vincent, I'm a super fan as well, man. I want to do what you do, man. Can you give me some advice?" Where you at on social media?
Okay, so socials. My key one right now is Instagram at Vincent Michaels. Send me a message on there. Anyone that's listening, shoot me a follow. Always happy to talk. Always happy to answer questions. Twitter, you can currently find me at VX Michaels. I actually used to be there under Vincent Michaels. I got suspended last year. I'm trying to get that worked out, get that account back because that account definitely had a lot more history under its belt. Literally ever since I was first going to shows in 2010 was when I made that Twitter account. So hopefully I can get that back and actually reclaim a lot of that, history of my prior life in a way now. But for right now, yeah, VX Michaels. I'm currently in the middle of designing my first line of merchandise that will be available in person Dallas WrestleMania weekend. I don't have any bookings lined up yet. There's still always a chance. We still got plenty of time to go to get myself on a show here and there. But even if not, if you know me, if you see me there, come up to me. Let's say hi. Let's take a selfie. Get a shirt. Do whatever you want to do. If you want to talk, you want to punch me in the face. You wouldn't be the first one to tell me you want to punch me in the face in person through social media. You wouldn't be the last. So for anyone that wants to bring it, bring it.
And with that being said, those of y'all just remember this man is a trained wrestler. So if you end up like that person in Las Vegas that got choked out by Michael Jackson, hey, that's on you. So, and I think he did a moonwalk when he did that too. But yeah, anyways, with that being said, it's about time for us to shut down this show. 1st of March, March Madness. We've had a crazy season 4 so far. Who knows what's going to be next? As a matter of fact, I'm feeling kind of generous tonight, so I'm gonna just give y'all a little preview of what we have coming up next. Rob, should I hit him with it? Should I hit him with it? Can I kick it?
Yes, we can.
There you go. Kathy, I didn't ask you. I don't think you would have been able to say that, but I don't know. But yeah. But with that being said, our next guest after Friday is gonna be the cousin of Fuego del Sol, the assassin Austin Keith from the Nightmare Factory, Class 3. That's right. Y'all know I gotta always do that little, exaggerated thing with the classes. So he's gonna be up next, and yeah, y'all definitely might want to stay tuned to us. But with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. Kathy Knight, where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling, all things Becky Lynch and Paige, see your brilliant editing, video editing work? And yes, she is that damn good. I highly recommend y'all check her out. This is no cap. Where you at on social media?
So I am on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord, all at BLUE70517.
Y'all definitely make sure you follow her. She's the CEO. Without her, a lot of things here would not be possible. So definitely make sure you give her a follow. Check out her work and whatnot. Rob Bass, the Mel Gibson to my Danny Glover, the Charlie Haas to my Shelton Benjamin, and the Bubba Ray to my Devon. Where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling, Find out when your next appearance is, purchase Rob Base merchandise, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
All right, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Rob_base82, and then Facebook, YouTube, Rob Base.
Awesome. And actually, you have a show coming up, right? Yes. Go ahead and plug that show, Rob. Yes, let them know, man.
Yeah, 1CW, CCW. It's March 26th, I believe it is. I'm not sure all the matches set up yet, but yeah, we got the heavyweight champ there, Bad Banks. We got Kylan King. The Renegade Twins are going to be there. Lufisto versus Willow Nightingale is going to happen there. So that one's going to be an awesome match right there. I do know that one. So yeah, I'm going to be sitting there in Gorilla watching that one. Yeah, I ain't missing that one. That one's going to be a banger. But yeah, when I get the poster and all that stuff, I'll hang it up there and yeah, more details. Yeah, March 26th.
So if you're in Houston, Delaware, and surrounding areas, make sure you check out 1CW and CCW. Come on, man. It's one ticket for two shows. Why wouldn't you go? So definitely go. If you could fly, if you got the buddy passes from the airline, check them out. Or if you just can't make it in person, there's Title Match Network. They'll be airing those. They'll be streaming those shows as well too. So definitely support them. They're doing big things like it's nobody's business. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Twitter at @TheRemyBlue. I'm not the coolest guy on social media, but who knows? Maybe you'll actually hear me say something cool. Hey, I can't. It is what it is. If it happens, it happens. But what's even cooler is that our podcast is also on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Ringside Society. We're on Spotify. We're on Block Talk. We're on Facebook as well as a Facebook group. We also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. We have the St. Patrick's Day merch. We have shirts, long sleeve shirts for the cold weather, tank tops to show your muscles. We got hoodies. We even have coffee mugs for your favorite warm beverage. So definitely check out our store. Cop some Ringside Society merch. All proceeds go back into keeping this show afloat. It doesn't go back into our pockets. Trust me, I'm still trying to get the small fries from McDonald's for like 50 cents. Hey, don't judge me. It is what it is. But with that being said, um, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. Oh, I forgot one more thing. I always do this. I don't know why. Don't get old, y'all. It's not fun. But we also have a YouTube channel where we actually, stream most of our shows. And once you go on YouTube, type in Ringside Society. When you see that sweet OMG dark blue and light blue yin yang sound with the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. Subscribe to all our videos. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, like Fuego del Sol's cousin, the once again the assassin Austin Keith. He'll be in the house. After that, we have our AEW Revolution predictions show with our two past guests from one is from Canada, Adam the Axe Guy, and Maryland's own Matt Rains. And also check out our past stuff too. We got a lot of cool interviews like Marek Brave and also the Diamond Sheik and Katie Hebner, Earl Hebner's daughter. Yes, we have a lot of cool things coming. Oh, and also Damian Priest's brother, the undeniable Michael Martinez. So check out those interviews because you don't want to miss out, man. Trust me, I'm not just saying this. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. You don't want to miss it. But with that being said, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight live. We really and truly appreciate it. We know we're not the best, but we always consider ourselves one of the best podcasts a wrestling fan should listen to. And I'll challenge anybody to tell me otherwise. But with that, and yeah, pretty much thank you for that. To those of y'all that are going to listen to us later on, thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at a Gordon Corral, or matter of fact, like myself at the New Edition concert, and Rob Bass at a taco festival, and Kathy Knight in a couple of weeks in Dallas, Texas, we ain't going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
We ain't stopping. But with that being said, we just want to let everybody know that we understand everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. We're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. And yo, Rob Bass, Kathy Knight, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, one time for one of the greatest wrestling schools in the country, the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, and one time for the only alternative Vincent Michaels.
Woo!
What type of podcast are we?
All right, 3, 2, 1. We're
We're
the
the
Wrestling
Wrestling Fans
Fans
Podcast.
Podcast.
That's right, we're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we'll be back this Friday with a, or actually no, third is we'll be back this Thursday with another impressive show. But until then, we just want y'all to do four, and we mean four favors for us. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.
See y'all. Stay classy, Delaware.
Happy Mardi Gras. Bye.